Hello, welcome to the Single African Market Program, the continent's most trusted platform regarding the vision of the continent of Africa to integrate its market. And this week, we're going to go all the way to the sidelines of the AU-EU summit that took place in Brussels. Now, one important forum that took place on the sidelines of that particular summit is the Africa-EU Business Forum, and they dwelled on sustainable transportation and logistics chain, the role of inland waterways as well as short sea shipping. Very important subject. They believe that without the maritime transportation sector and without government helping the private sector to take proper control of the connectivity systems, the transportation connectivity systems using the maritime transport, inland waterways, as well as the short sea shipping, it will be difficult to harness the potential that the AfCFTA presents. Let's take a listen to that and we'll be back. Marine transport, both via inland waterways and over shorter maritime distance, has the potential to greatly improve continental integration in Africa and transform the economies of African countries, especially landlocked and island states. But it needs adequate support and an enabling governance framework. Those were the main takeaways from the Africa-Europe Foundation booth at the Europe-Africa Business Forum, which aimed to mainstream the role of marine transport across the African continent, not only for improving connectivity within the continent and facilitating trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, but also for achieving the green agenda, enhancing food security, and creating employment for the youth. Stakeholders from across Africa representing regional economic communities, RECs, national governments, development partners, civil society organizations, industry practitioners, academia, and the private sector came together to discuss how to promote inland waterway transport and regional short sea shipping routes. Panelists were also unanimous in their calls for greater investment in marine transport, but for the development partners, the issue of mobilizing the resources remained. The moderator concluded by summing up the main asks of all the panel into one theme: governance, public governance, private governance, and information governance. If these can be improved, there will be a better chance of success for the future of marine transport in Africa. So a very, very important subject discussed on the sidelines of the AU-EU summit at the Africa-EU Business Forum, talking about sustainable transportation and logistics chain there, looking at the role of inland waterways and the short sea shipping industries with examples of the Lake Volta, Lake Pretoria, the Congo, Ubangi, Shanga, affluents, and looking at the Senegambia lakes and all of that, and how they can help connect Africa together for the purposes of trade. Now, I caught up with the moderator of that particular event there, who is a former senior colleague at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authorities, the Burkina Faso former representative at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. He's now the Chief Executive Officer of the Djibouti Shipping Company, to find out from Mr. Yaya Yedan what at all can governments of African countries do to improve inland waterways as well as short sea shipping, and what are some of the benefits, even aside transporting goods here and there, in the area of climate change, in the area of creating employment. What can be done to harness the potentials of inland waterways and short sea shipping? Pleasure to have you, Mr. Yedan.
Thank you, Sami. It's always a pleasure talking to you, always a pleasure engaging you, because it has been always a very constructive and forward-looking discussion and interaction whenever we have discussed.
Now, we paid critical attention to the Africa European Union Summit for this year, 2022, which is the 6th edition. And we covered it last week extensively. But we also recognize that on the sideline of that particular event, there was the Africa-Europe Business Forum, of which you played critical or integral part with this particular conference that focused on sustainable transport and logistics chains in Africa, looking at the role of inland water transport and short sea shipping. And we want to understand the direction that this whole conversation and this whole forum had to go.
Sami, thank you. I must add that after I left the World Bank in 2020, I later joined the Djibouti Shipping Company, which I'm the CEO of. And the Djibouti Shipping Company is one entity under what is termed Greaton Investment Holding, which itself is under the Djibouti Port and Free Zone Authority. I was fortunate enough that in my former capacity of SSATP regional pillar lead, I attended some of the EU-Africa work. So an extension was decided by the European Union to these activities, and it resulted in the setting up of the Africa-Europe Foundation, which has 5 strategy groups. And one of the strategy group is the strategy group on transport and connectivity, which I happen to be the senior fellow of. So in the strategy group on transport and connectivity, that thought that it could leverage the EABF, Europe Africa Business Forum, as a platform to showcase and create more awareness about how marine transport, specifically short sea shipping and inland waterway transport, could contribute to the operationalization of AfCFTA, amongst others.
Just last week thereabout, the heads of states of African countries at the AU summit were briefed on how far the Council of Trade Ministers have gone with negotiations of rules of origin. And they sort of nodded to the fact that it is about time that we go start trading as a continent. So we are there. But to what extent do you think we need to correct some of the issues we have around logistics and transport to be able to take full advantage of the AfCFTA? Particularly, let's focus on the area which you had a discussion on, and that is the role of inland water transportation as well as short sea shipping. How do you think that inland water transportation and short sea shipping can properly improve the integration of African trade?
I mean, this is a very critical question. You will admit with me that the operationalization of the AfCFTA after the agreement has been signed is a kind of greenfield, where we need to put our head together to find out solutions that are applicable and feasible to trade more amongst ourselves. You are quite aware that intra-African trade in general does not go beyond 15%. So within the strategy group, we have looked at it critically. Now, currently, the challenges are about I would say technical barriers like custom issues, rule of origin, SPS, etc. And we are well advanced toward tackling those or addressing them appropriately. Now, one thing is to address those dimensions of trade, and the other is to make sure that you trade effectively. Trade in goods is about moving goods from departure point to another. You and I knows that currently, even between neighboring countries, it is very challenging because of many non-tariff barriers, so many challenges at border crossing, so many control along the route. That does not even make it easy in terms of cost and time to trade among neighboring countries, among countries in the same regional economic community. We're talking now, when it comes to the AfCFTA, enabling Africans to be able to move goods from one regional economic community to the other over long distances. Let's say from Senegal to Cameroon, or Cameroon to Zambia, Zambia to Djibouti. Basically, if you look at what's happening now today, we will not be able to do that by road. So our appeal is that Africa should really look at it critically. If we want to fast track the operationalization of AfCFTA, we need to make sure that we create maritime highways and that we attract the private sector to it.
The AfCFTA seems to have garnered a lot of political will. Now, all across, the heads of states of governments of Africa have committed to the AfCFTA. Council of Trade Ministers and all are regularly meeting towards the AfCFTA. The AU Commission itself, the AfCFTA Secretariat, always on the beat to ensure that this AfCFTA dream materialized. Do you think that we can leverage on the political commitment that we have been able to garner for the AfCFTA to secure some of these transportation requirements, for instance, the inland water transportation or the short sea shipping area? Can we use or leverage the political will we have for the AfCFTA to build on this, improve on these areas?
Thank you, Sami. I would say very much so, and we must. Indeed, as you stated, on the political side, there is a strong, remarkable will to make sure that AfCFTA works. Work that's ongoing now are mainly focused on rule of origin, trade negotiation issues, custom issues, which of course need to be addressed and adequately. Now, once that will be done, we'll be left with how to move the cargo from one end to the other.
Yeah.
Currently, by road, it will not work.
Why?
There will be too many challenges. There will be too many challenges because we have so many policies, regulations, standards that are not harmonized amongst countries and amongst regs. Some work is being done, notably at the level of a tripartite, but yet there is a lot to achieve before you can move cargo over that long distance. Again, this will also translate, even if you were one day to sort it out and be able to move, it will translate into huge congestion. Think of the volume of trucks that will be on our roads. And again, intra-African highways, most of the time they are dilapidated roads. They need to be maintained. A segment of it need to be constructed. We are not yet there. Now, when you look at the railway, which is also very appropriate for long distance transportation, our railway network are not most of the time interconnected. When they are interconnected, it's over a shorter distance. I'm talking about 2,000 kilometer maximum. And most of the time they are ill-managed. But we need to start tomorrow trading with ourselves. Only marine transport will enable us trade at a cost-effective manner. And so we need to make sure we have what I would call maritime highways, connecting the mainland with each other, mainland countries with each another, and also connecting the mainland countries with the island countries. But why is it not happening? It's one, awareness need to be there, that this is an untapped potential. Two, we need to create a conducive framework to attract the private sector so that the private sector will be in the driving seat and making sure that we have maritime services that are offered in a time and cost-effective manner.
And do you see that governments are taking this area of short sea shipping into consideration, or people are relaxed, countries are relaxed in this area?
Sami, the answer is twofold. When you look at AfCFTA, getting that agreement package and adopted, signed, was already a big challenge. Next to it was getting it ratified. So I think the focus of government was on that. Now that it has been ratified and that its actual implementation phase has started, the focus is more on how traditionally we used to trade. Including, as I said, custom issues, rule of origin. So you could see that people are looking at the NTBs, and we want to put in place NTB reporting and resolution mechanism. We're looking at gender into cross-border trade, etc. This is all good. What I mean is that the awareness that indeed if we do not take it to inland water transport and short sea shipping, we will not be able to move good. It is not yet there. There are a few countries, as I would say, like maybe Kenya, a few wreck like ACAS, who have perceived it. But I mean, the momentum need to be grown, and I think that AfCFTA need to own that.
Share your experience, if you can share with us some of the experiences we have in other African countries. Whether the voter league, take the Senegambia, can Senegambia learn something from what is happening elsewhere? Are there examples we can learn from?
Yeah, Sami, this is a very important question because Africa seems to be the only country which is not learning from best practices that exist elsewhere, let's say in Europe and in Asia, Vietnam, China, in terms of, drawing the best from the use of inland waterway transportation. We have lakes and rivers that are navigable. Some of them are not navigable all year round, but there is a way to make sure they become. But these are on tape, and as you know, currently the services are very informal. Where it tends to be modern, it's not all the time reliable, or we do not have enough supply. So you take a lake like Lake Victoria, or Lake Tanganyika, or Votla Lake, and rivers like the Niger River, Senegal, and you look at what's being done and you compare it to Rhine River, to Danube River, or to the many rivers, the Yangtze and its arteries in China, and you compare, you will see that we are not moving enough. We do not have well-structured services on our lakes and rivers.
Beyond even serving as transportation means to from one end to the other, can you highlight some of the green agenda opportunities that we can take from short shipping, for instance, and also youth employment opportunities that we can create out of this, and even securing food security? Can we be able to take advantage of short shipping and inland waterways to achieve all these targets?
So this is an important, the nexus between marine transport we are calling for, and food security and climate change and employment for youth. But so today you will see that Algeria is importing banana from Latin America, whereas we have sweet banana produced in Cameroon, in Cote d'Ivoire, just because the connectivity is poor. It will take more time to move these banana from these aforementioned African countries to Algeria. It would certainly go to Antwerp or to Hamburg before coming down to Algeciras or Las Palmas before one day getting to Algeria. So I mean, Africa is importing some food stuff from abroad, whereas if there was adequate connectivity, we could have imported from African countries. Similarly, you come to a country like Djibouti. Mogadishu, Somali Republic, is just down the corner. But you go to supermarket, you see that all the vegetables are coming from Portugal, Vietnam, France, China, and far remote countries, because there is just no connectivity by sea to Mogadishu. Now, that's the trading dimension. Now, you think of the fact that AfCFTA would enable us to grow the volume by road. It's not tomorrow that our truck, if you look at the truck fleet of Africa, despite all effort to reduce the carbon emission, to go to Euro 4, then to migrate to Euro 5, then probably to migrate to electrical trucks. We're talking about what, between 10 years to 15 years before we are into electrical trucks. In the meantime, If you want to carry all this volume, international trade and intra-regional trade by road, think of the congestion on our road and then the carbon emission. But one vessel or one ferry can have the content of 500 trucks, 70 trucks, 100 trucks, etc. So, and it emits less. And transforming the power, the energy that a vessel uses is something that is going to take place much quickly because of international convention and international effort than transforming our trucks. So by making sure part of the traffic that is now by road is shifted to either inland water transport or to marine, we are reducing drastically, just automatically, the carbon emission from Africa.
What are the core challenges that are emanating from governments in Africa that is not helping the inland waterways transportation as well as the short shipping business in Africa?
First of all is the lack of a strategy. I mean, it is left to private promoters to try to venture into it. But you and I know that a private promoter will not venture into something that is risky, that is ill-organized, where you have no support. We need to take this as a strategic area, a key area, and build the strategy. Create an enabling framework, enabling environment, so that it make it easier and it make it attractive for the private operators to get involved into it and agree to put ferries or vessel for offering these services. We need to make sure that these vessels have priority berthing.
These should come from port authorities across Africa, right?
Yeah, it should be across Africa. Therefore, it should be a strategy and a policy that is bought in by all the countries that, look, this is trade amongst ourselves. If we do not want to pass on the cost to the final consumer, and if we want to promote that trade, it is in our own benefit to make sure that they have priority berthing.
Let me find out, does the Djibouti Shipping Company, does it operate a shipping line?
Yes, we have a shipping line. It has been created, thanks to the vision of the president of the country, the Republic of Djibouti, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, who was one of the head of state in Sub-Saharan Africa, to notice that we cannot leave to European or to foreign companies to come in and fill the gap in terms of supply of regional shipping services along our coast. So the company has bought a vessel in 2020, 1,100 capacity, TEU capacity that we are running. So we service Djibouti with not only cargo destined to Djibouti, but also Ethiopia.
There have been a lot of talks that with the oncoming of the AfCFTA, the continent or the countries on the continent should begin to look at their own shipping lines to sort of boost this maritime transport. Is it about time we head towards that direction?
I would say yes and no. Because we don't need necessarily to have one shipping line per country to do that. We can have some joint ventures. But what is necessary and capital, and if we want to follow suit or emulate what has been done elsewhere, is to make sure we have these maritime highways connecting African countries. Is to make sure that we leverage the high seas that is there. We leverage our port facilities that are there to make sure we increase the trade amongst ourselves.
We appreciate your time, Mr. Ayed, and experience that you have shared with us.
It was a pleasure sharing these ideas with you, and we hope it will snowball and that very soon across the length and breadth of Africa, this discussion would take shape, and that very soon high-level decision makers would be also roped into it.
Now, the weather report for all African cities, the flight schedules leaving the commercial capital of Africa, and that's Accra, Ghana, to the rest of African cities, the forex rates for the African market, and the AfCFTA party status for all countries. Now, once again, let me hint you that this is the continent's most trusted platform to get every information regarding the vision of the continent of Africa to integrate its market. And we are going to ensure that we bring you every activity around this whole vision and this whole journey so that you don't miss any step at all. We're also going to get to those who are on the ground. So we heard from the likes of Yaya Yedan, the very practical man when it comes to the shipping industry. We're going to get into the various ports on the continent of Africa. We will assess, we will evaluate them with the right aspects, and very soon you should be seeing them here discussing and evaluating this whole AfCFTA package for the continent of Africa. Thank you for watching the program. I hope to see you same time next week. There's a Africa righteousness in the name of great Africa. It's a fight and conquer now.